we were very interested to see a report on Michael Irvin from you earlier and a lawsuit coming together and witnesses involved. What have you been able to learn here? And you can tell our listeners about what Michael Irvin plans to do next.
Yeah, well, it's with these sort of situations, information doesn't come all at once. Even now, and I've spoken with Michael Irvin for about 15 minutes on, I think it was Tuesday when he and I spoke, Tuesday night. And then I spoke with 3 people who were at the lobby who they were fans for the most, by and large, more or less. They weren't Cowboys fans, but they were there for the Super Bowl week, and they didn't know Michael Irvin personally, and they saw him that night, Sunday night, at Renaissance downtown Phoenix Hotel, where this incident in question came with women, and they saw Michael Irvin in the lobby. Feel like they saw him talk to her and didn't see much there in terms of what everything that's followed in terms of NFL Network and ESPN pulling Michael Irvin from the airwaves and accusation of misconduct and all that. And so there's a lot of information that we know there, but there's still a lot of information that we don't know. Marriott hasn't given a statement in response to the lawsuit that Michael Irvin filed last night through Collin County. We don't know what the surveillance footage exactly shows. We don't know what the woman specifically has accused Irvin of. There's a lack of clarity there. And so I think overall, we just have to appreciate that this is still a process. But as part of the process, we have Michael Irvin filing that lawsuit, and we have people who feel like they saw what took place come forward. And again, there's still accounts that need to be seen and need to be heard.
Michael, you said, and correct me if I'm wrong, did you have a chance to visit with the witnesses at all, or with Michael, and or am I going out of bounds on that one?
No, yeah, I spoke on the phone because I've been away from the Super Bowl and at home. I spoke with 3 witnesses over the phone yesterday, and I spoke with Michael Irvin earlier this week.
Did the witnesses tell you anything? Did they any kind of behavior? Were they all like, "No, wait, this is crazy. What's going on?" Are they? I know there's a lot of balls still in the air here, but the impression you got, did they feel like, "Wow, this is kind of crazy what Michael's going through right now"?
That was their sentiment. Yeah, they were very surprised to read, a couple days after a really positive exchange with Michael Irvin, a couple days after they saw what seemed a pretty innocuous exchange that Irvin had with a female hotel employee just as Irvin was wrapping up his evening. Very surprised to see all that came out of that. And so, yeah, they were taken aback by it all. They felt like it was unfair to Michael, and they felt the need to stand up. And that's based on their impressions of what happened that evening.
So Michael feels like the hotel is complicit. Did the hotel quickly side with the accuser and kick him out and start this ball rolling towards his suspension from Radio Row in the coverage?
Well, it's how quickly is a matter of perspective. I'm sure if you ask Marriott, and I'm trying to leave space for more to come in terms of what we can learn.
Great job.
But the Marriott security has surveillance footage, I'm told, and so they obviously looked at that footage. They spoke with the hotel employee, and they felt moved to act quickly. And if I've looked over this lawsuit, the document that was filed, and it's pretty, it's certainly of notice of how aggressive the people at Marriott there reacted in terms of their actions, where after some data collection on their end, they woke up Michael Irvin, according to the lawsuit, in the middle of the night, must have been probably early Monday morning, and told him he needs to get off the premises right now. And so Irvin had to change hotels. He was, according to the lawsuit, he's been banned from Marriott hotels, period. And so obviously the NFL became aware, and NFL Network became aware of this entire situation. And that, according to the lawsuit, is because Marriott, a manager at Marriott, reached out and informed the league. And Michael Irvin believes, and his representation believes, that all that is a step far too far. When you consider that there are no legal ramifications as to whatever is believed that Michael Irvin did on Sunday evening. Again, we'll just let this whole thing play out because there are still people we haven't heard from. But what Irvin says didn't happen, what the witnesses they feel didn't happen, and all that. Ultimately, there was no criminal complaint. I've spoken to Phoenix police on multiple occasions since Tuesday, and I have been told steadily that we haven't heard from anybody as it relates to any issue pertaining to Michael Irvin, period. And so it hasn't elevated to that sort of the incident didn't elevate to criminality, but it certainly elevated to a point where Marriott believed it needed to get Michael Irvin off the property, which is to say that they wanted him not to be staying at the same place where one of their employees is working, who's impacted allegedly by whatever she said occurred in surveillance footage, whatever it may be, whatever it does or doesn't show. And then, you just are having some accounts that are still being weighed and all this. So I'm kind of juggling it through because I just don't want to overstep and say anything too early during the situation. But very clearly, Michael Irvin and his representation feel that Marriott acted a bit too aggressively and didn't give due order, including after witnesses stepped forward. They felt like Marriott didn't want to hear what those witnesses had to say.
Michael Gehlken, Morning News here, and you can't talk to anybody that has any sort of an inkling of what the accuser told the hotel that Michael Irvin did?
Not specifics, no. I couldn't distinctly, vividly, whatever, tell you exactly what she feels took place, what she believes took place. That is not something I could speak on declaratively. I haven't been told on the record anything about that.
Is it unusual in your time being a journalist to have Marriott not have come out and talked or issued a statement regarding the lawsuit yet, or is that normal? They want to kind of take their time?
I mean, there aren't a lot of $100 million lawsuits that I've covered in my day.
That's fair.
But I would think that, typically you have a statement that comes out, and I've called and I've emailed multiple emails, and I should check my inbox as I'm saying this, but unless it's changed over the past 15 minutes or so, I haven't seen anything come through. I checked, and there's nothing's there. So it's been a little quiet, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Perhaps they're simply being measured on a lawsuit of this magnitude.
Michael, is there anything else in this story that you feel like our listeners would want to know about before we let you go? No. I think that's pretty much about where we stand right now. Michael Irvin is adamant that, in terms of physical touch, there was a handshake there. He wasn't able to tell me exactly what was said during what he says is a 45-second to a minute-long, certainly no longer conversation. But he really is adamant that, it wasn't any sort of misconduct here that is reflective of what has happened over the past few days in terms of the recourse that he's felt. There's been some speculation that being late, is it possible that Michael Irvin's recollection of the events in question aren't clear in his mind?
He told me he's been drinking that night, and so he used that as a reason for maybe why he didn't have extreme clarity as to the length of, or the actual nature of their conversation. So again, the two people were part of that conversation. One witness I spoke to felt like he's a pretty good handle of what was said, but ultimately there were two people who were directly involved, and Michael Irvin, although confident, he didn't do anything that is deserving of what transpired. He wasn't super detailed with the particulars of the conversation, and there's a woman there who we haven't heard from yet in terms of her vantage point. But this is going to be a drawn-out process. It very well could be played out in the courts. So we have a lot to learn in this area, and we'll just see what information further comes to light.